Have you seen how mad people got in the comments of your fighting games take vid? Man, people love. The problem is that like fighting game communities are like hyper concentrated with autism. So the moment they hear anything that sounds like criticism or anything that they can deliberately misinterpret to my detriment, they will do so to defend their precious autism special interest. I said that basically all fighting games, or like all Mortal Kombat games, the main series, whatever, are the same fundamental game experience. And I'm literally right. And I'm sorry, you guys, if you guys have only ever played one game before, maybe you don't think that. But when I say fundamental gameplay experience, I mean fundamental gameplay experience. People interpreted that as, bro, did you know they added like a special like mega block and the frame hit for this is different, totally changes the game. Fundamental game experience. Why is that fundamental gameplay bad? I never said that. I didn't say that. By that standard, all fighting games are the same game. A lot of them are, yeah. A lot of traditional 2D fighting games are the same basic fundamental experience, yeah. There are some types that are different, like Smash, obviously, is very different. The like mode of gameplay is hugely different to like Street Fighter. I don't know that much about other like indie fighter games, but there are a lot of games that are in like the Smash archetype, like that Warner Brothers game or the Nintendo game or whatever. And then you have like the traditional 2D fighting stuff. You don't have a problem with 20 identical Dark Souls games? Salty Internet Pirate, that's a nice orange name you have. Do you think it'll protect you? In that video, I said that yes, I believe that most of the Front Software games are fundamentally the same gameplay experience. I don't know why you think, I'm not gonna, this is what I mean. You're so defensive. I say fundamental gameplay experience. It's not like a judgmental term. It doesn't even sound loaded. It doesn't even sound moralistic. Like it doesn't denote any negativity. But you hear that, well, you wouldn't feel the same way about From Software. I do, and I said so. Jesus Christ. Yes, I think Sekiro is very different. Yeah, Sekiro is very, very different. Yeah, no meaningful difference between Injustice and Mortal Kombat. The chatter, you are actually retarded. I never said no meaningful differences. I said same fundamental gameplay experience. Why do you keep inventing new shit in your head to get mad at? Why, if my take is bad, why can't you respond to my bad take and not the degenerate brain shit that you just took in your own skull pan? Why are you arguing with yourself? I said same fundamental game experience. Now, we can argue over what that means, but you guys are off in the hills arguing against a completely separate set of arguments that have nothing to do with what I said, and I don't know why you're doing that. Good Lord. Like I would say most RTSs have basically the same fundamental gameplay experience, depending on them. I would say, like, it depends a lot on, like, time to kill for units, but there's a lot of that, right? There's... What was the point of this fighting game thing? Somebody just chatted it. It's literally like the I like pancakes, why do you hate waffles thing. Isn't every game in the same genre the same fundamental experience? No, I mean, obviously where you define the boundaries are subjective, but in terms of fighting games, like, I would say that Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter are way the hell more similar than Mortal Kombat and like Smash Ultimate or whatever, in terms of how they play. A lot of shooting games are the same fundamental gameplay experience, but not all of them. That's why we kind of fold realistic shooters into their own category. Games that are like, I don't know, Call of Duty or whatever, that's like kind of its own thing, and we describe them as those types of things. But then we have boomer shooters, where you run at 50 miles an hour, and you can like jump really high, and you can carry 20 weapons. And I would say the fundamental gameplay experience of like Quake, Warhammer Bolt Gun, and Dusk are all the same. The fundamental gameplay experience. Because fundamentally, playing these games is like slotting into a cool rhythm where you get what it's about, and you're in the same. It's like, I am familiar with the genre expectations, and the gameplay feels similar enough that I can kind of translate this information, and it feels the same. Whereas I don't necessarily think you can do that in the same way between like Dusk or Quake 2 or whatever, and like Call of Duty. Totally different thing there. Still shooters, not completely detached, but all I was saying was that, like, I don't care for the fighting games that much because it feels like they release like every year, like the FIFA games, like not every year of course, but like it's like just it's the same thing. It's like the same thing. I guess I just can't imagine playing Mortal Kombat like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of the whatever, and then like, oh man, Mortal Kombat 1, like the remake, yeah, let's go. It's like, okay, you know. And I feel the same way about the Smash games, though the Smash games, there are way fewer of them and they come out way less frequently. So I think that's a meaningful distinction. I guess it would be like if there were 3 times as many Smash games, and like if Smash Ultimate had released 4 times, and every time it released there were like new maps and characters or whatever, but it was like the same basic thing. I prefer the DLC modal, personally, I think. Yeah, Smash does tend to be more insular because it attracts more autists. Aren't many FPS level designs also the same? Well, I'm talking about the gameplay experience, not the level designs, but yes, definitely. Would using the WWE games make a better example alongside? Yeah, the WWE games, a lot of them definitely 100% have the same basic. Yeah. I'm only comparing them in terms of, like, repeatability, Lord Iro. Do you think the story modes matter at all? For fighting games? Didn't Street Fighter 6 get a lot of praise for its, like, big open world story mode thing? Isn't the story mode for Mortal Kombat, it's like the same as every other 2D fighting game. It's like you choose a character at the start, and then you just run into all the other characters and have an excuse to fight them, and it's all, like, stupid and, like meaningless. Like, you might as well just be playing the AI in against all the characters in tandem. No? They made it better? Because I feel like I've done that a lot. There's usually an overarching story that happens not like that. Okay. I'm talking about the gameplay. So you have the story bits that chain together the fights, but if you strip out everything but the gameplay, then it is just a contrived excuse to fight all the other characters. Yes? Okay. Yeah. No? Yes, it is. It is. I don't care. Yes, it is. I mean, maybe the Diamond's 8. It's just a multi-world war tournament. I only liked World Horizon. Everyone I know who plays fighting games likes that they have the same fundamental gameplay. I don't know why people are mad when you say it, because people are dumb. Yeah, like, the fighting games are all about, like, high-skill twitch reflexes, like, reading the game, the state of the player. They're all about, like, super refined, like, skill PvP stuff. So, of course, they're not going to do a huge mix-up every game. Again, it wasn't a value judgment. I was just saying that they do. Can you name a series with different fundamental gameplay experiences between games? Yeah, sure, actually. 100%. The Zelda games. Yeah. Not only do the Zelda games every time... Well, hold on. I would actually argue that Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild have the same fundamental experience. But if you're chaining together, like... And same with Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time. But if you're chaining together, like, Majora's Mask, Twilight Princess, Wind Waker, Skyward Sword... Breath of the Wild, I would say all of those have different fundamental experiences. It's not just, like, changes in art style or technology, but, like, there are so many changes in between the way everything's presented, even in a relatively formulaic series, which they definitely are. I think you could say the same thing about Mario, too. Super Mario 3D World, Mario Odyssey... Sunshine 64, like if you chain that, because there's so many differences made between these games, it doesn't just feel like, oh, like I'm playing an expansion pack of the older one with newer graphics, which is how I feel basically with fighting games. Like, okay, I'm playing like the new version of Mortal Kombat, I'm playing the new version of FIFA, the new version of NBA or whatever. But when I was playing Odyssey, I was not thinking like, oh, I'm playing the new version of Mario Galaxy, you know, it didn't feel that way at all. Though obviously there are commonalities. But again, it's subjective. Galaxy was so different from 64, dude. Yep. Is that sarcasm? Because it is. No, it's not. Okay. Just making sure, because you said so with like multiple okay, just making sure, because like, yeah. For some of the worst examples of the same fundamental experience every time, look at the Far Cry series. Yeah, Far Cry 3 and onward, the Assassin's Creed games. Yeah, stuff like that. There are some game series where there is, like, significant innovation between them. I think... Would I say that of Pikmin? I think that Pikmin is similar enough that I wouldn't say it's the... I would say it's the same fundamental. I would not say it's the same fundamental for mainline Mario games, but I would for Pikmin. Pikmin is a very consistent series. They add new maps and they add new, like, critters and stuff, but it's the fundamental is Pokemon. Yeah, Pokemon is obviously okay. A lot of the Pokemon games are literally just the same game. Like, yeah, just literally like the same game. Yeah. Am I excited for Mario Wonder? Yeah. I've never been a huge fan of 2D Mario games. I'm like a big 3D Mario fan. But yeah, like, probably going to be pretty great. I like their art style. I like what they're going for. How do you think Bloodborne compares to the other Souls games? Bloodborne is pretty goddamn similar to Dark Souls 3. Like, I feel like there's an evolutionary tree here where Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 2 connect, and Dark Souls 2 and Dark Souls 3 connect. And Dark Souls 3 doesn't connect, or sorry, and Dark Souls 3 connects to Bloodborne, but Bloodborne doesn't connect to Dark Souls 1. Feel like totally different games. But if you play Dark Souls 3 and then play Bloodborne, like, it feels pretty similar. Sekiro is a whole other thing. Sekiro's experience between the jump and the bounce and the grappling hook and the health system and the posture, totally different thing. Totally different thing. If the story is the main point of the game, Intelligent Donkey, then I would say that you could have a different fundamental experience just by changing up the story. For instance, a lot of like early CRPGs basically play the same. Like Fallout 1, Fallout 2, Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, like games in that era. Again, not all exactly the same, but like, let's be real. If you've played one, you kind of know what's going on. But the point of those games is not the mechanical fidelity of going through, you know. The point is like the story and the world and the role-playing and the engagement. And because that's the point of the game, I would say that's the gameplay experience, and that varies game to game. So I would say that, like, that's a meaningful distinction there. Paper Mario does a good job changing it up with the Wii game and the Origami King. Yeah, Paper Mario 1 and 2 feel pretty damn similar to me, just with the tech and quality upgrade, because the Thousand Year Door is like an unironic masterpiece. And then Paper Mario 3 felt pretty different. And then Sticker Star and Origami King were also pretty different. I didn't play Sticker Star, but I saw other people playing it. Vaush, when he doesn't know what he's talking about. Man, like, if you're going to bitch about it, can you at least say what you think I got wrong? So apparently Vaush never played early Baldur's Gate games or Fallout. Dude, oh my god. Oh my god. I've played Fallout and Baldur's Gate. Holy shit. Do you see? Oh my god, you guys are so uncharitable. It kills me sometimes. The point of these games is the role-playing and the story and the world and engaging and exploring and all that stuff, okay? The point of these games is not the specific mechanics of how you interact with the world. The mechanics define the interactions, but it's the interactions that shape the gameplay. I think that the gameplay, like the actual what are you clicking, what are you doing with Baldur's Gate and Fallout and with Planetscape Torment and with all the other games of that era that were like that, are pretty comparable. I'll stand by that. Yeah, I know they use different systems for interaction. I know they got VATS. I know they got this. I know they got that. But I think that the core of those games is about looking around on an isometric camera far away from your character, and every once in a while you find a up dude whose face is made of sprites or whatever, and he says, "We don't like strangers around here." And I think that's the fundamental of those games. I know they're different. I'm talking about what would considered like the gameplay experience. I think a good way of understanding gameplay experience in a fundamental sense is what games do people recommend when you ask for more games like Baldur's Gate. Like Baldur's Gate 1. Baldur's Gate 1 is like an early fantasy CRPG. You know what else is a fantasy game? How am I blanking on this? This is like the easiest thing ever. Monster Hunter. No, not even. Fuck, man. King's Field. Oh, Final Fantasy. You want to play a magical fantasy game? Great. Go play Final Fantasy. You really like Baldur's Gate 1? Final Fantasy. Like, no, you would recommend Fallout 1 or 2, or you'd recommend Planetscape, obviously, because nobody's playing Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 and coming away from that thinking, wow, that was a great medieval fantasy game where I clicked and did conversations. Like, no, take on BioWare RPG. Oh, likewise, it's why Fallout 3 and Skyrim are the exact same games, even though the settings are completely different. And don't you haven't played them to me, okay? They're the exact same game, and they would be the same game even if there was an engine update between them. Where do FNAF games fall for you? Depends on the game. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, I think, are the same fundamental, but Pizzeria Simulator is clearly doing a different thing, right? Fallout 4 felt the same to me too. Yeah, same. Vaush has played Baldur's Gate and Fallout the same way as Red All Theory. Zarnot 2, why are you being a cunt? What the Please stop saying Planetscape, it's Planescape. It's Planescape? Holy shit! I've been saying Planetscape my entire life. Well, I haven't played Planescape. So that explains that. I haven't played Planescape. What do you think of games like Prey and the recent Deus Ex games? Yeah, like Prey, I would say the fundamental gameplay experience of Prey and BioShock are really similar, right? Even though the settings and everything else are really, really different. It's been a while since I played the Deus Ex games. Yes. It was one of the biggest influences on Disco Elysium. Yeah. Like, if Disco Elysium had a sequel, which will never happen, Sag, but if Disco Elysium had a sequel and like the story and characters were very honestly, even if you were still playing as Dubois with Kim, which honestly, like, I love them so much that I would be a Marvel pig slop gamer for any number of games with them if it maintained their level of like dialogue and quality and rapport. I would follow those two to their deaths in lore. I would play games about them in a retirement home together. I love them. So that's good. Do you think all Super Mario from SNES are shit since they use the you're getting banned. Fuck you. I never said it means they're shit. Fuck you. Nah, dude, come on. It's like one. It's too easy to get a rise out of you. Well, the thing that bothers me is I genuinely feel like 90% of the time when people get mad at my media takes, it's because they don't understand what I'm saying. I think it's because people get really defensive about my media takes because unlike with my political takes, where most of you will agree with most of what I'm saying, and my media takes, like, it's so much more taste determined, so like there's going to be a lot more disagreement. And all of my pleasant abrasiveness while talking about politics suddenly turns into unpleasant abrasiveness when talking about media. But I act the same. I act the same talking about media and politics, but I'm talking about a subject you now care about. So now it's like, oh, this arrogant prick. But I've always been like this. Just normally we agree. But that doesn't mean you can stop listening to me. Like, you can't stop listening to me because I say that. You know? Like, because if that's the case, that means that's the same kind of closed-mindedness that makes other people not listen to me when I'm right, like politically or whatever, like a Tim Pool fan or whatever. It's like, oh, well, I'm not going to listen to him because he's like abrasive. It's like, okay, well, just because I'm abrasive doesn't mean you get to be wrong. And in the case of subjective shit like this media or whatever, like, you should still listen, you know? It depends, Whirling and Rags. Do you think anyone has gone full VDS because of your media takes? Yeah, probably. People tend to uncharitably interpret you because you can be super arrogant and abrasive, even on stuff you admit to not knowing a lot about. Yeah, I guess I just don't really care. I think that people being kind of abrasively confident about their positions, when it's like not like when it's like trivial stuff or like opinions on video games or whatever, I find that behavior from people kind of charming because I like the bants, and I don't mind people actively disagreeing with me. I just hate it when people misinterpret me. If I'm being like, you know, like cocky and annoying, I'm fine with that. It's the misinterpretation I don't go for. That's the thing that bothers me. That's psychotic? I don't think so. I think that people are really paranoid to be interpreted as arrogant or like overly confident or whatever. The problem is that like there's not actually a real line between confidence and arrogance. People can be confident in a way that's abrasive and arrogant in a way that's charming. It's really just about the vibe. I don't think that you should like be wrong. But if you're just having a laugh and talking about some stuff you have an opinion on and it's not super serious, I don't think there's anything wrong with being like really forthcomingly opinionated about it, even if those opinions are kind of uninformed. Because I feel like it'd be really boring if everyone was so afraid of being made a fool of that on any subject they're like, I don't have enough knowledge to have an opinion on that. Like, if somebody asked me about like the recent Star Wars show with the lady with like the two tentacle horn things, like, I haven't seen that. I don't know anything about it. But if you ask me for my opinion on it, I can talk for multiple minutes about how I hate it. And I'll try to substantiate my points. I know fully well that my points would be like much better served and substantiated if I could like watch the show first, but I don't want to. I don't want to have to watch the show first. I want to sit here and complain loudly about it. And that's fine. I think that's fine. I think that's okay. I think you should proportion your degree of like, you know, I need to read up on that first pretty well in accordance with how important the subject is. Like, I wouldn't try to do that with something like political.